A massive explosion ripped through the night sky over central Israel, sending a towering fireball and a mushroom-shaped cloud of smoke into the air that was visible for miles. The blast occurred in Beit Shemesh, a city located roughly 30 kilometers west of Jerusalem. The deafening sound was reportedly heard across nearby communities. Online footage circulating on social media showed flames lighting up the darkness across the area, and within minutes, speculation about what had detonated and why began spreading faster than the fire itself. Some unverified social media accounts claimed the site might contain a sensitive military facility. Others pointed to the shape of the cloud and drew comparisons that have no basis in evidence. What is known is that something powerful enough to produce a fireball visible from across central Israel went off in the middle of the night, and the official explanation that followed did not satisfy everyone who saw it. The Times of Israel reported that the explosion occurred at a testing ground operated by Tomer, a state-owned defense company that develops rocket and missile engines for Israel's defense sector. According to Tomer, the blast was part of a pre-planned and controlled experiment conducted according to schedule. The company said the test was carried out under full control and concluded successfully. That explanation, if accurate, would make the incident a routine defense industry event rather than an attack or an accident. But a controlled test that produces a mushroom cloud visible from miles away, carried out in the dead of night near one of Israel's most populated corridors, is not the kind of event that passes without questions, especially in the current environment. A former CIA official publicly challenged the claim that the explosion was merely a controlled detonation. He questioned why the test was carried out in the middle of the night and suggested the blast may have been either a catastrophic accident or a deliberate act of sabotage. That assessment has not been confirmed by any official source and should be treated as the opinion of a former intelligence professional rather than a verified finding. But the fact that a former CIA official is openly questioning the Israeli explanation adds a layer of credibility to the skepticism that was already circulating online. The official explanation says routine test. The scale of the blast and the timing say something that at minimum demands a fuller account than the one Tomer has provided. RT reported that the facility involved was linked to the production of Arrow-3 missile systems, one of Israel's most advanced long-range missile defense platforms developed specifically for the threat environment created by Iran's ballistic missile program. That reporting has not been independently confirmed by Reuters or AP. But if the facility is connected to Arrow-3 production, then the explosion, whether planned or not, occurred at one of the most sensitive defense industrial sites in the country. Arrow-3 is designed to intercept ballistic missiles outside the atmosphere. Damage to any facility involved in its production would have implications that go far beyond a single night's fireball. The explosion landed at a moment when tensions between Israel and Iran are at one of their highest points since the ceasefire began. The New York Times recently reported that Israel and the United States could launch a renewed offensive against Iran as early as next week, with peace negotiations remaining deadlocked. Whether the Beit Shemesh blast has any connection to that timeline is unknown. But in a region where military facilities are being struck, drones are being intercepted daily, and both sides are preparing for the possibility that the ceasefire collapses. An unexplained explosion at a defense testing site near Jerusalem does not land in a vacuum. It lands inside a context where every incident is read as a signal, whether it is one or not. While central Israel was dealing with the Beit Shemesh explosion, the northern front was producing its own escalation. Hezbollah announced that it carried out 33 separate attacks on Israeli forces in a single day. Rockets, drones, roadside bombs, and artillery strikes launched across multiple frontline positions near the Lebanon-Israel border. The attacks targeted Israeli troop gatherings, armored vehicles, and military positions spread across villages and ravines in southern Lebanon. The group said its fighters carried out coordinated operations using multiple forms of attack throughout Friday. Hezbollah has increasingly relied on drone warfare and precision strikes during recent confrontations, shifting from the older model of massed rocket fire toward a more targeted, harder-to-defend approach. 33 attacks in one day during a ceasefire. That number tells you everything about the state of the truce between Israel and Hezbollah. The ceasefire exists as a diplomatic framework. On the ground, it is producing daily exchanges of fire, drone operations, artillery strikes, and casualties on both sides. The front line in southern Lebanon has not gone quiet since the ceasefire was announced. It has shifted from large-scale operations to a grinding, low-intensity conflict that produces fewer headlines but no fewer risks. Every roadside bomb, every drone strike, every artillery barrage pushes the ceasefire closer to the point where one side decides it is no longer worth observing. Against this backdrop, the United States announced that the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire would be extended by another 45 days. U.S. State Department spokesman Tommy Pigott made the announcement on X. Hezbollah has not officially commented on the extension. But extending a ceasefire that is being violated on a daily basis does not change the reality on the ground. It changes the diplomatic label on a conflict that is still active. The extension is designed to buy time for negotiations. But if both sides are using that time to fight, the extension is not a pause. It is a container for a war that is not stopped. Washington is preparing another round of diplomatic engagement. Israeli and Lebanese representatives are expected to hold U.S.-mediated talks on June 2nd and 3rd. Before that, military-level discussions between delegations from both countries are scheduled at the Pentagon on May 29th. The talks are expected to focus on border security, ceasefire enforcement, and mechanisms aimed at preventing a major escalation. But scheduling talks while 33 attacks are happening in a single day raises the question of whether the diplomatic track and the military track are even operating in the same conflict anymore. Diplomacy runs on timelines, the battlefield runs on triggers, and the triggers are firing faster than the timelines can absorb. The shift in Hezbollah's tactics is significant. The group is no longer relying primarily on rockets and artillery. It is using armed drones, explosive-laden UAVs, and precision attacks that can target specific Israeli positions, vehicles, and personnel. That shift makes the northern front harder for Israel to defend. Rockets follow predictable trajectories and can be intercepted by Iron Dome. Drones fly low, change course, and can be directed at targets in ways that rocket fire cannot replicate. The battlefield in southern Lebanon is evolving from an artillery war into a drone war, and the Israeli military is adapting to a threat that demands a different kind of defense. For months, southern Lebanon and northern Israel have witnessed near-daily exchanges of fire, despite repeated diplomatic interventions. The latest Hezbollah attacks underline how fragile the ceasefire remains and how quickly the situation could spiral into a much wider confrontation. Both sides continue preparing for the possibility that the conflict is not over. Israel is conducting airstrikes and issuing evacuation warnings in southern Lebanese villages. Hezbollah is launching coordinated multi-front attacks, and the ceasefire that is supposed to be holding is being observed by neither side in any meaningful operational sense. So this is what one night produced: a massive explosion at a defense testing site near Jerusalem that Israel says was a controlled test, that a former CIA official called suspicious, and that RT linked to Arrow 3 missile production, and 33 Hezbollah attacks on Israeli forces in a single day along the Lebanon border, during a ceasefire that was just extended for another 45 days. Central Israel lit up by a fireball, northern Israel under drone and rocket fire, and a ceasefire that exists in press releases but not on the ground where the fighting is actually happening. The explosion in Beit Shemesh may have a routine explanation. The 33 attacks in the north do not. And together, they paint a picture of a country under pressure from multiple directions at once, with the next phase of the conflict already visible in the fires that are burning tonight. Subscribe to WLA for daily geopolitical analysis.